Welcome to episode 53 of From the Shed End podcast with myself, TDOT, as always. Theo, how you doing?
Good, thanks. We're just talking about the wind here in London. Whoever's listening from the UK, stay safe, because I went to doctors this morning and I felt like I needed to wear sunglasses just to stop anything coming into my eyes, because there's just debris flying everywhere. It's crazy.
I'm just glad I've got no hair, to be fair. At least I'm not windswept. So, but we're joined by Rich from Eagle Eyed Football. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. As Theo's just said, listen, everyone stay safe out there. It's crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I've seen footage of, like, unfortunately, people getting blown, like falling over, because I'm not too far from Croydon. So when I saw that footage, I was like, snap, I know exactly where that is. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen that one where that...
The box park. It was in the box park one. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just shows the severity of it. Like, I can look outside my window here, there's fences, there's wheelie bins, it's all crazy. But other than that, thank you once again for having me on, and
it's a pleasure.
Looking forward to talking.
You've got your new jacket on there, Theo, as well. For anyone who's listening on the podcast, you've got the new jacket. I think it's called, isn't it called a windbreaker as well? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, windbreaker or rain jacket. But found it on sale in the mega store last week, and I just thought I had to get it. It looks quite simple and nice. So I quite like the little retro badge here as well.
Don't go out trying to test it out today, though.
No.
Yeah, you might not come back in one piece, but let's get into the football. Let's talk about what we're here for, and let's start no better place than, because I know we haven't really talked about it on the podcast episode. I've done a few match previews and reactions to it, but the Club World Cup, which we need to talk about. There's a few things we need to talk about, but obviously we won the Club World Cup. Big smile on my face. I'm trying to hide it, but it's there. Theo, give me your thoughts, because I've done a match reaction already. Right thing to do to start Mendy and drop Kepa?
We'll be quick, Rich, I promise, talking about the Club World Cup, but I just want to share my thoughts as a Chelsea fan. I would have started Kepa, personally. I thought he played in the semis. He almost got us to the final. He made 2 or 3 big saves against Al Hilal. So I felt he deserved to start, but maybe in finals you go with your first choice keeper, which is Mendy at the moment. But I thought, had it been Mendy, had it been Kepa, it would have been the same result. Maybe Kepa would have even probably gone the right way for the penalty. So more inclined to start Kepa. In terms of how I felt, it was a big game. I only realized when I saw those Palmeiras fans, and when I spoke in the previous episode, how of a big occasion it is for South American teams, less so maybe for European teams. But I just feel like a lot of rivals are trying to, numb it down, saying it's just a Mickey Mouse trophy for, Chelsea. I don't know why you're celebrating as much, but I was really happy, really pleased. We lost it in 2012 against Corinthians. We came out this year really wanting to win it. Players like Azpilicueta just needed the Club World Cup to complete the lot and have every trophy in his cabinet. And you kind of saw the celebrations, how much it meant to the manager, the players, the fans as well, who traveled all the way to Abu Dhabi. Really pleased. Performance could have been a bit better. It was a very cagey game, like you predicted, TDOT. So I felt not as reassuring going into the Palace game in terms of the performance. But walking past Stamford Bridge the other day and seeing the new banner with the new trophy collection is quite nice. So I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. That was the last one that was missing to complete it all. So we can now officially say we're champions of the world.
Officially. One of the things I wanted to talk about quickly before we move on to the Palace game as well, there's a couple of things, but in terms of obviously Lukaku scoring in both, not just the final, but the semi-final, and also Mason Mount injury, which is now obviously means that he's not going to be playing tomorrow. He's also not going to be potentially fully fit for the cup final. One's not a massive blow, because we've seen Lukaku actually scoring goals, which is what we want for 97 million. But for Mason Mount, it's a massive blow.
Yeah, he kind of is our creative player. He is that player. You realize how important he is when he's not in the squad more than anything. I did feel when he played against Al Hilal, he didn't offer much, and he's been a bit on the low recently. So I think Crystal Palace will be an opportunity for Pulisic, for Hudson-Odoi, and we'll touch upon it later, but we know what Pulisic does against Crystal Palace. I can see Rich there, head in hands. But no, it's going to be a big loss not having Mason Mount, but I want to say evens out, because Palace will have Conor Gallagher, and in regards to Lukaku, he needed those 2 goals. He looked quite sharp. He looked like he was up for it against in the Club World Cup. The goals kind of were put on the plate for him. He couldn't really miss them. But you really hope now he goes on a series of games where he's performing, he's getting goals. We want to see him putting those performances in the Premier League, not just the cup, the cup competitions.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And Rich, obviously, let's talk Palace, Chelsea. Feels like a lifetime since we played in the Premier League. So obviously before the Club World Cup, we had the Plymouth game, FA Cup, which was a difficult game in itself. But talking about the Palace game, I think just looking here now, last season it was 3-0. But at Selhurst, the last game at Selhurst, I think it was 4-1, I think, on that day as well. Pulisic got 2 in that game in the 4-1. There's going to be no Gallagher, obviously, for obvious reasons tomorrow. But and before we go on to your predicted lineup, what's your thoughts just initially on the game tomorrow?
Before I jump into that, I just want to obviously shout out Munzi. He's got a great channel himself, Munzi Talks. He has like Premier League reviews. He does like boxing, Champions League, NFL, NBA and stuff. So he's doing a lot, and like always supporting. So just check him out as well, guys. It's Munzi Talk on YouTube and on all different platforms, I believe, like Instagram and Twitter and stuff. So yeah. So I always like shouting out people that if they come in and supporting me, I got to shout them back, you know what I mean? But the game now, I'm so glad Mason Mount's not available. I'm gutted Pulisic is because he's always scoring past us. But I guess we come into this game in better stead, and I'm not even talking about results-wise, but just how we play as a team. When you beat us at Selhurst Park last season, it was the end of the road, like with Roy Hodgson, you know. So we weren't picking up any results. I think in between that, like in and around that time, we also lost to Liverpool 7-0 at home as well. So everything was coming to the end. Obviously, when we played you this season at the Bridge, we were beating European champions. And you know what? For the first half, we were terrible. But second half, we gave a very good account of ourselves. You know, since then, obviously, we lie in like 12th place, which is weird that as fans we're not happy about. Because on any given league season, it's a decent season. And I'm not saying it isn't. It still is a decent season, but we've just drawn too many games and we've dropped too many late points. Weirdly enough, we could be 8th. you know? So I'm not expecting much from this game, in all honesty. I see this as a free hit because we got 2 big, and this is not bypassing Chelsea at all because we obviously know how quality you are. But we've got Watford and Burnley in the next 2 games, Wednesday and Saturday. We have to be winning those 2 games. I would rather us lose tomorrow and win those 2 than win tomorrow and lose to Watford and Burnley. You know, so yeah. Hopefully our players can just enjoy themselves. You know.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. So I was reading earlier. I don't think you've won in the Premier League since the 28th of December. I think it was 3-0 Norwich. And there has been a lot of draws. I remember. Yeah, I think it was maybe November or throughout October, November. There was like just back-to-back draws, and then I think 3 defeats followed from that as well. So, obviously Patrick Vieira is in his first season, and it's that sort of transitional period, trying to find the right 11. Obviously, that you've had injuries as well to cope with, a few cancellation games possibly. I know we haven't, but I know a lot of the other clubs have. So, just in terms of your predicted lineup, which you sent me earlier, which I'm going to share now for everyone who's watching on YouTube, you should be able to see. But it's a good lineup. I like it. I think it's make sure I share the right one. Yeah. Talk us through your predicted lineup.
Now we've just started. This is the lineup that I personally would go for, based on who we have available. As much as Butland's done well for us, I think Gaeta's just a better shot stopper. And I don't think we'll be facing necessarily many crosses in this game, but we may be facing a lot of shots. So VG in goal. I've made a change at right back. Now, Joe Wood has been like steady for us this season. But I would say the last 3-4 games, it's been rocky. To the point where I feel like he's been targeted. you know, and I just think he just needs to be taken out the firing line. I know some players need to play themselves into form, but I'd rather him come out of this game and then come back refreshed for the next two, you know. And another reason why I would hope it's Klein is so that we don't have to force Ayew to play, which I'll get into in a minute with my front three. And the rest of the back line remains the same. They've been pretty solid. Anderson needs to do better. Gahey, thank you for him. He's been brilliant. He's been amazing for us. Anderson could be, I reckon if we get a centre back in, Anderson could lose his spot. You know,
that bad.
You know what? He's a good ball playing centre back, but he just gets exposed, and sometimes positionally, he's just in the wrong place and stuff. But when it comes to passing, range of passes, unreal and stuff. So I think he just needs to get back up to the pace of it, and he should be fine. But we do need a bigger squad. Tompkins are only centre back, and Kelly, they're both in their 30s. You know, into the midfield, obviously we've lost out. There's no Gallagher due to his ineligibility. I think that rule needs to change, by the way. I
really?
Yeah.
Why?
Reason being is there's a lot of teams that send players out on loan because they have to, not because they want to bring them back. They're kind of trying to make money out of them, if that makes sense. So, like a Conor Gallagher, if he ends up getting loaned out again next year, then he can effectively say that his Chelsea career is done because Roman will just buy someone. You know,
to back what Rich is saying, in the Champions League, you're allowed to loan a player to another club and they can play against you. I remember Courtois went out on loan to Atletico Madrid and played probably the best game I've ever seen him play against us.
Philippe Coutinho as well.
Coutinho, I was about to say, scored against Barcelona while wearing a Bayern Munich shirt. So it could potentially be a rule that we see changed in the Premier League and have players like Gallagher play against us in the future.
Yeah, and I think it will just work better for these teams because then they can see if that player is good enough to play. If they're good enough to play against you, they should be good enough to play for you. So that's just
a fair point. It's a fair point.
But my midfield three, I've gone for Coyote. We need to get him back in. We just need an enforcer in there. Will Hughes has been doing an amazing job holding for us, but he's not really a destroyer. He's more of a passing the ball out, picking up from the back and passing it and such. But then I have pushed Will Hughes a little bit further forward. Now, Mac has just come back, and I can't wait for Mac to start games, but I feel like I don't think he should start this game just because he's coming back from injury. And the third midfielder, I'm hoping we see Eze. I'm done seeing Schlupp in midfield. He can be cover left back for the meantime or cover wing forward. But if we're going to get any sort of creativity in there, we have to play Eze. In saying that, I won't be surprised if Patrick Vieira went Coyote, Hughes, and Gallagher just to shore up that midfield. You know, but I'm hoping Eze plays. And then the front three, Zaha on the left, Edouard up top. And the reason why I've gone Edouard instead of Mateta is I don't think we're going to be getting much joy going in behind, because obviously you play the 3-5-2 sort of thing. So getting in behind with three centre backs won't be easy. So we need someone who's going to have to hold up the ball, and I think Edouard will do a better job of that for us. And on the right side, I am praying we see Michael Olise come back in. Jordan Ayew, no thank you. No, thank you. The only reason Ayew will play is to produce defensive cover. That's the only reason he'll play. And then we have nothing going forward.
I've got a question, Rich. What about Milivojevic, the Serbian centre mid?
His legs are gone.
And Benteke? Because he always loves a goal against us. I know that.
I wouldn't say he's been frozen up, but he's now fourth choice striker.
Wow.
And bear in mind, we have three. Because we've got Edouard, we've got Mateta, and now we've got Zaha, who sometimes plays up top and Edouard goes left. So Benteke's gone, he's after him, yeah. So I don't know if something's happened behind the scenes. I don't know if it's a case where Vieira's just said, listen, you're on your way out soon, so I need to kind of just play with the players that I'm going to be utilising in the future. I don't know, but he has not seen many minutes lately.
I wanted to talk about from Stu Mack, who said Vieira's created a style of play fashioned to Palace. A few more signings and phase out the British-based kick and chase players, Tompkins, etc., and could resemble something like Wolves or Leicester. Would you agree?
We are not far off it, and that's so weird to say after we've not had a full season yet. And I mean, Palace Twitter can be mad. Like, it can be so reactionary.
Twitter is mad in general.
I was just about to say, I think it doesn't matter who you support.
Fair point. But I mean, I understand people's outrage at the draws we've been having, because like I said, we've drawn 2 million games we should be winning. But someone questioning Vieira, and it's like, do you remember what we were before? This is his first season. Judge him next year. Judge him next year. That's totally fine. But this year, our ambitions was to stay in the league, and play a better style of football. We're playing a better style of football, and we're only like, I think, 4 to 6 points off 10th. Like, it's not drastic. If we can just get a run of wins together, because I think we haven't done that.
3 points off 10th.
Look at that. If we just get 3 wins, we'll be okay. You know, we just need to run the game. So
no, it's fine. I think just in terms of some of these comments here as well. Obviously, we got Matt saying, obviously, you know, nice for Chelsea to turn up for a Premier game after their holiday. It was a really good holiday as Chelsea fans. I think, you know, coming back with a nice trophy. But obviously, again, big up Rich, nice stream. Thanks for that, Matt. Yeah, look, nice to see Palace taking strides forward rather than being happy playing Roy ball and sitting in 17th place. It's a fair comment.
This is it. Going to Selhurst Park these days, and the buzz is like, we're disappointed we're not winning games based on how we're playing now, rather than, it's another defeat. On to the next game.
Yeah,
you know, we've come a long way.
It's a transition, and I think, you know, we've had it before with obviously numerous managers that we've had as well. You know, we've had to have that transitional period, and of course, the budget's a totally different aspect to it. But I still think you have to give managers time. You're looking at Conte now at Spurs. You know, okay, yeah, he's brought in a few players, but he still needs a lot of time. And there's a lot of Spurs fans that are almost turning their backs on not just Conte but Spurs in a whole. And you think, you know, managers aren't really given that time anymore. I don't know what you think, Theo, in terms of managerial changeovers and the time that managers are given now. Are they given long enough? You look at I forgot his name. He wasn't there that long. Nuno at Spurs before Conte comes in. It wasn't even half a season and he was sacked already. So
yeah, you've got to give them time. You look at Arteta. He was on the verge of getting a sack August, September time. They gave him a couple more games, and to be fair, he's done a fantastic job with the squad he's got. He's almost fighting now for that 4th spot position. Nuno, I think they needed that change, but more because Conte was available rather than actually giving him the amount of time that he needed. But changes can be a good thing. I really hope Crystal Palace stick with Vieira, because from a non-Palace point of view, I think it's exciting. It's really exciting to see the players that he's brought in. And like all those comments said, it's a change from the boring kind of football that Roy Hodgson used to have. And he's also managed to lower that average age of the squad. He got rid of the players like Cahill, like I'm sure you know better than me, Rich, but like a lot of those players that were kind of aging the squad, and brought in the likes of Anderson, like Gallagher, and all these exciting players, Mark Guehi from Chelsea as well. So from a non-point of view, I like watching Palace. I mean, that game that sums them up really is that 2-0 win at the Etihad. I just feel like they need a bit more consistency. I looked at their recent results recently: draws against Norwich, draws against Brentford, scrappy wins against Hartlepool and Millwall. It's kind of, they just need that consistency, and they'll definitely be a top 10 team.
You're spot on there, Theo, and I think you talk to any Palace fan, and we will actually trade in that victory at the Etihad to have more of the draws turn into wins, especially away from home. Our home record's not too bad. It's not too shabby. It's just our away record is dire. It's really bad.
Yeah, I think given the time, I think that's going to change. I think you know, there'll be moments where any club will have a dip in form, and I think that's expected. But I think the time is the ultimate key to getting something right and allowing the manager to bring in the right players and adjusting the tactics and style of play to what suits his needs as well. So I think he needs that as well. But there's a question here from Matt as well. You know, what's your opinion on Lampard at Everton? It's early days, but it's looking promising. I can see a future with Lampard, and hopefully he can take it forward like Vieira has at Palace. I think, I mean, me and Theo, obviously, Lampard through and through. It was always going to be a difficult move wherever he went after Chelsea, I think, because the expectations are potentially what he's done at Derby, trying to get them promoted, and then obviously his time at Chelsea, a big club as well. But he's got a good team around him. I think he's done the right thing by bringing in, the coaching staff that he has, and potentially still keeping Duncan Ferguson, who's part of the furniture at Goodison and Finch Farm. It makes sense to me. He's played a lot more better football than what Evertonians have probably seen in the last 2 seasons at least. So give him a season. Let him bring in 2 seasons. 2 summers, like transfer windows, he's probably going to need to be able to bring in his own squad. But Theo, I'll throw it to you as a Chelsea fan, and I know your love for Lampard as well. What do you think on the move to Goodison Park?
Exactly like I was saying about Vieira to Palace in the summer. It's exciting. It's nice to see this young kind of ex-professional footballers come in and take over from their teams. And even just from looking at Twitter comments from Everton fans, he's almost seemed like he's rejuvenated the fan base, brought in, some hope, some optimism as well. Because I see a lot of Everton fans say that since the game against Brentford was the best football Everton have played all season when they won 4-1. I'm still unsure about the Donny de Beek and Dele Alli signings. I feel like it wasn't their main priority come January. They have got some capable players like Decore who could fill in that position. But I'm confident that when Calvert-Lewin comes back in, they do have a much better squad than Burnley, than Watford, than Norwich. So I just really hope he can keep them up this season, which I'm confident he will, and then hopefully get the players he wants in the summer and build that Everton team for next season.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I don't know what your thoughts are, Rich, from a sort of non-biased Chelsea perspective.
I mentioned it before, like he rightfully got sacked from Chelsea. I think he got the job too early. He should have done what he's done now. He should have done that in reverse.
Derby, Everton, Chelsea.
Yeah, or something along those lines and stuff. What I do like about Lampard is he obviously works with a lot of youth and stuff, gives them a chance and stuff. And I believe he works with Jody Morris quite a bit and stuff. And they did a good job, obviously, with the youngsters at Chelsea. But I just feel like at Chelsea, he felt like, listen, I'm Mr. Chelsea, like I can do what I want, sort of thing. And it didn't work out. But at Everton, the only gripe I have with him is the timing he took the job, because we were meant to get Donny. And as soon as he had thrown his name into the hat, it made sense for Donny to stay at Everton, because obviously he doesn't have to move home with his wife being pregnant and all sorts of stuff. So I think he'll do a good job there. I think he'll do a very good job at Everton, and they'll definitely be safe. Had they kept Benitez, then I would say they would need to worry.
Bad move all around, I think. Looking back, you think on paper you'd think Benitez at a club like Everton would work, but the history with the two clubs and just some of the comments he made as Liverpool manager about Everton as well, it was just never going to... The moment Everton slipped up a little bit in the league, it was always going to be Benitez out and the board. So it was always going to end in tears, I think. But you did expect a bit more as capable of Benitez, to be able to get something out of the players that he had, albeit Dominic Calvert-Lewin's been injured for the best part of when Benitez was there, but you still think he should be able to get a tune out of those players and do well. But Theo, I've got your predicted 11 that's been on the screen for about 5 or 10 minutes, but talk us through it, because it's not much different to mine, to be fair, but talk us through your thoughts around tomorrow's game and the predicted lineup.
Yeah, I've been busy with work, so I haven't really had able to put much thought into this lineup, but I think given that we've had a week's break from the Club World Cup, which is a blessing for Chelsea at the moment, because we played so much football throughout December and January. So to not have a midweek match, I think will allow us to play that same squad that played against Palmeiras. We know that Mount is injured, which means Pulisic will fill in for Mount, and I trust Pulisic to score against Palace. He's got 5 goals in his last 4 appearances, I think, against Palace, or 4 starts. We've got actually a very good record against Palace. I think if we win tomorrow be 9 successive wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So big opportunity for us to win. Aspi, obviously, he's looking better at right wing back. He would have had a week break, so I think it makes sense to play him. Reece James is still not fit. Mendy in goal over Kepa. He's our first choice after all now, Mendy. Christensen, Silva, Rudiger, I think our best 3 centre-backs when we play over back 3. Could be a chance for Chalobah to come in, but I think I'll stick with those ones. Hudson-Odoi, left wing back, but I think it could very well be Alonso as well. And I think my preferred 2 midfielders would be Kante and Kovacic. I do think Jorginho is great, but I think Kante and Kovacic is kind of, but we saw that against Palmeiras, they kind of their strengths and characteristics almost complement each other, and they can offer more goals going forward, maybe potentially than a Jorginho. And then Havertz just got to play alongside Lukaku. He's got to. We saw that against link-up play was there occasionally at the Club World Cup, and I do think if we want to invest in Lukaku and make sure that he gets those goals and the game time he needs to play alongside Havertz over someone like Werner. I think the Havertz-Lukaku partnership is what we need to be focusing on. And if we are to get goals for the second part of the season, until May, June, we've really got to be looking at those two for to get the goals. So yeah, front 3, Pulisic, Lukaku, Havertz. But again, Ziyech is another player, like we mentioned many times, that's been probably one of our best players since the start of the new year. So he could also be in a shot of starting. But it's just so hard to predict the Chelsea lineup at the moment.
Yeah, and I think even one of the during the press conference today, I think someone said that it's always difficult to predict a Tuchel lineup. But just going back to the Lukaku Kai Havertz partnership, what does that spell for someone like Timo Werner, who potentially, obviously we brought him in for a large amount of money, hasn't really had the consistency, and we haven't had a front 3 with consistency. And I think I said that numerous times on here that you look at a Liverpool who you're going to get a Mane, Jota, or Salah, or it's going to be the consistent front 3 9 times out of 10 with Liverpool. Do you think we'll see this a bit more now with Lukaku and Havertz? And you look back to the Club World Cup and how well they played together. What does it mean for Werner, someone who we know hasn't really hit the ground running at Chelsea? And is it time for us to kind of cut our ties with Werner?
I mean, firstly, just that game against Palmeiras, seeing Lukaku and Havertz as the 2 goal scorers is what we've wanted for so long. Lukaku and Havertz, yeah. So this season we've relied so much on our defenders getting the goals at times. Silva, like Rudiger, Christensen's popped up occasionally with the odd goal. I think in regards to Werner, I was on another podcast in midweek, and I do think it could be the end of him this summer. Tuchel's come in, he's given him a few games. He's been quite inconsistent in his form. Don't think he scored a league goal since Southampton in October, if I'm not mistaken. He doesn't really seem to have the trust of the manager, which is what worries me the most. When you look at our lineups, it's often been Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and Ziyech preferred over Werner. And even when he does come off the bench, it's usually the 75th minute or 80th minute, so he only gets about 15, 20 minutes of game time. I'm just struggling to see where he fits in his formation, whether we play a back 3 or a back 4. I do love Werner. I love his passion for the club, his relationship with the fans, but I'm not sure beyond this summer if he'll still be at Chelsea.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one because I think he's still got a role to play. I think the problem, and probably Tuchel's headache, is you can only put out 11 players, and you just mentioned as well Hakim Ziyech, who we've all, but myself and Theo have definitely said that has been arguably one of the best players this half of the season, alongside Kovacic as well. And you just think, where does Timo Werner fit into this? And if you do want to have that consistency, especially with Kai Havertz and Romelu Lukaku, it does kind of tell you that unless Werner does something in the next couple of games that gives Tuchel something to think about, he looks like he might be on his way out. Alongside, you've chosen Kante, but there's a lot of talk about N'Golo Kante and Jorginho both leaving after their contracts and not renewing them 2023.
We are linked to Tchouaméni and Rice. So you feel if we do bring one or both of those in, it will be the end of Kante, one of Kante, Kovacic, or
just those
Jorginho.
words doesn't sit right with me though. It's the end of Kante, who for me arguably is one of the, if not the, maybe I'm biased again, but he's one of the best in the world. You know, he's one of the best in the world. Yeah, no, this is a true fact. You know, to think we're going to lose the quality of N'Golo Kante. When I know people are saying his injuries and he's sort of slowing down and he's always injured all the time, but you look at Thiago Silva, who we've had for now nearly the best part of 2 seasons, and we know how to play him. We know he can play one game, we rest him, we play. I think that the way that Kante is, I think it'd be stupid to let him go.
It would be really stupid. I'm completely against the idea of selling one of Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic, but I think the thinking behind it is this summer is probably the last chance for us to get a big value amount of money for Kante, because after this summer, given his age, given maybe his form slowly dipping, I don't think we'll get anywhere near maybe 40 or 50 mil past this summer, whereas maybe a PSG or Bayern Munich would snap him up for 50, 60 mil this summer, you'd think. But that being said, I'd still rather keep him for another 2-3 years and get the best out of Kante, what he's still able to offer on the pitch, which is what he's still a fantastic player. You look at those games against Real Madrid in our Champions League run to the final. He was man of the match in both of them. I think he's a fantastic player, but no, you won't be getting him anytime soon, Rich. Don't worry.
I'm gonna ask you, Rich, actually now. Obviously, Azpilicueta is another player that I don't know if you've been following, but obviously his contract's due to be coming to an end. Well, it's come to an end, so he's got an option whether he signs with Chelsea or moves on. He's a player that's obviously won it all. He's the only Chelsea player that's won it all, and again, it would seem very strange to me that he'd want to go elsewhere and play for another club. But can you see Azpilicueta potentially moving on now that he's sort of completed the full set at Chelsea?
It just wouldn't look right.
Yeah, I agree.
It really wouldn't look right. What a servant you've had in him, by the way. He's been phenomenal. And it's funny because obviously whenever I look at him, I think, yeah, he's going to get beaten for pace. He still holds his own, you know. Yeah. He's so reliable. I think there was even a season where he chipped in with like about 5-6 goals, you know. So you know what you're going to get with Azpilicueta, and it'll be a shame if he leaves. For your sake, it'll be a shame if he leaves, but I won't be surprised if he does. Because obviously with Reece James there, like personally, he's the best right back in the league. For me personally, I know everyone will say like Trent and stuff, but I don't. Trent does the going forward bit well, but not so much the defensive side. And Reece James, I think, could do both. So, yeah, he's been a great servant for you guys. And just for his legacy, I would hope for he's probably still going to get a statue somewhere. But I think it would be nice for him to stay and to just see out his career there, and maybe even just go maybe be a player coach or something.
Yeah. No mistakes leading to a goal since he's joined Chelsea in the Premier League.
I read that, but is that fact? Because I was trying to scratch my head and see if I could remember one, but is that 100%?
I think I saw a couple reliable Twitter accounts tweeting it. I think it was on the Premier League website even. He scored a couple of own goals, but I don't think that counts as a. I don't know.
I don't know. But
it's a bit blurry, maybe, but
it's good to have on the CV if it's 100% true. That's something that is, goes alongside his honours. But 100%. Be a shame to lose him. Obviously there's a lot of talk around Barcelona, who I think have offered him a very good lucrative deal. He's still weighing up the pros and cons of that. So we have to see. It'd be a shame to lose him. I know we've got Reece James, but we're talking about quality and depth, experience. For me, it goes without saying he's got both. So it'd be a shame to lose him, but you can also see now that he's completed everything at Chelsea, what is one last paycheck maybe in Barca, or don't know with the wages I've got there. But it'd be a shame to lose him, 100%. My starting 11, if I just quickly go through mine, very very similar to yours, Theo. To be fair, I think my only change would be to drop Silva and drop Kante, And the reason for that is the midweek game against Lille, which I think is a big game, massive Champions League game. I know that we haven't played for a week now, so the rest of the group plays well. But I just think Chalobah needs to sort of come back, and he's missed a couple of the games prior to the Club World Cup. And I agree with you. I think going back to Palmeiras game, the Al Hilal game, when we took off Jorginho and we brought on Kante, and there was a shift in the ball possession for us. And I just think in a game like against Palace, I think for me, Jorginho and Kovacic would work better in the midfield. So yeah, again, it's not much different to yours. I just think in terms of the front three, I the nod, and the only reason I put Pulisic in there again is what you said earlier around the goal record against Palace. But it's hard to leave Hakim Ziyech out of a team when you look at the form that he's playing in. But if you want consistency in front three, Kai Havertz has to start, Lukaku has to start, and there is that ultimate final place in the front three. And unfortunately for me, it would go to Pulisic, who, if you think about most of the season, he's played out of one of his natural positions, and he's played left wing back, I think potentially right wing back at one point. I think he played false nine in some games. So fortunate to not really see him play when, for me, he deserves a bit of a call up. And it also gives a rest to someone like Hakim Ziyech as well. Let's flip it around. Like I just said, we've got a massive game, in a week against Lille, who's for me, and this is no disrespect to Palace, but it's a more important game, just because of the fact that, we want to progress through to the Champions League. So I think for me, I'd rest Silva, because I'd like to see Silva play midweek. And again, Kante, like I just said, I think is at that sort of stage in his career where you do have to sort of sacrifice not playing him to potentially play him in a game that probably means more as a Chelsea fan, to an extent. So that was my only sort of rationale behind it. And obviously Alonso, I love Callum Hudson-Odoi at left wing back. I thought he played really well in the Club World Cup final, but I don't know. I just feel like when you've got a player that plays in that position on the bench, play him.
Mm-hmm. You've got to kind of play your natural wing backs for these type of games. But I think, like you mentioned, the Lille game is an opportunity to rotate slightly. So it could be Hudson-Odoi tomorrow and Alonso midweek, or vice versa. Yeah,
and I'd love to see that. I think midweek I'd prefer to potentially see Callum Hudson-Odoi, or maybe Alonso starts both. I don't know. Maybe depending on the game midweek, we bring off Alonso for Hudson-Odoi. I don't know, but I just think if you've got someone who's naturally a left back or a left wing back, just play him, unless there's a reason why you can't play him, which he shouldn't be on the bench. So that was my rationale behind that. Obviously Rudiger goes without saying, Christensen goes without saying, although Malangsar maybe, but yeah, the midfield for me, where it's going to be key tomorrow. I think Kovacic, going back to that Liverpool game, Theo, just how much he changed that game when we were 2-0 down. He's someone that has just, since that game for me, is improved and has shown the consistency in the team. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, just our win rates. You look at our win rate with Kovacic and Jorginho, I think it's the highest win rate we have with those two midfielders amongst the other different partnerships. But like I say, we're almost blessed to have such good midfielders in Kovacic, Jorginho, and Kante. I don't think either of us will get the lineup spot on. I think there'll be something in between. It'll probably be Silva, but Hudson-Odoi or Alonso, but either way, like I always say, I back Tuchel to make the right choice for the lineup, and if it's not correct, make changes at halftime.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Let's move on to predictions very quickly. So let's let Rich go first. As he's the guest and the only Palace fan on the podcast today.
It's going to go one of two ways. I'm weird. We're either going to get battered or we draw 1-1. Maybe 2-2 at a stretch. I don't see us winning it. Not for wanting of trying. I just think, obviously, the quality you've got all round, and Mendy in goal as well. That plays a factor. Obviously, like I said, hearing Mason Mount's out, that helps. I would have hoped Pulisic wasn't available. I guess that just just looking at your two predicted lineups, our best joy is going to come trying to attack from your wing back areas. I'm not saying that we're going to get joy from it, but like with your back three, they're solid.
You know, you've got the players to beat the wing backs in Eze and Zaha potentially. They've got pacier.
I don't know if Eze will even play. That's the worrying thing about it. I hope he does, but more so Michael Elise. I definitely hope he starts. Because I think of Hudson Odoi. Sorry, he's going to give Joe Ward problems if it's Joe Ward. But then defensively, I'm not too sure. Like, could we effectively cheat in this game? Like maybe just leave our front three forward, let the wing backs go forward and see if we can break like that. Gallagher's going to obviously be a big miss, and this is why I'm hoping Eze comes in, because we're going to need some sort of creativity in the top half of the pitch. So I'm going to go 1-1. Hopefully.
1-1. Theo, what are your thoughts?
Well, when Rich said it might go either one of two ways, either we'll get battered or it'll be 1-1. Chelsea don't batter teams in the Premier League at the moment.
That's a very good point. I was trying to think when was the last time we did that.
No,
we are Charity FC though, so
I don't know. I'd be very surprised if Chelsea score more than 2 goals tomorrow. Just given how it's been this season, we dominate possession, we dominate the ball, we create a couple of chances, but we're just not clinical enough, and I can see that happening again tomorrow. So I'm going to go with, I think we'll win. It will be an ugly win, but it will be a 2-1 win to Chelsea.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. I think I feel like I've said this the last 3 times, but I'm going to go 1-0 to Chelsea. I don't think it's going to be like Theo just said. We don't steamroll teams. We don't win 7-0, 6-0. I do think we are good at keeping clean sheets, and I think I can see us keeping a clean sheet tomorrow. So I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to say Lukaku. I'm going to say Lukaku's going to carry on with the performance and how he's been in the Club World Cup. He's going to bring that back into the Premier League. Fans are going to forgive him. He's going to get a second chance to win over the fans. But yeah, I think it's got to be a game that we've got to win. This is a really pivotal moment in Chelsea's season. Whether I think there was a question asked to Tuchel today around whether he still believes we can get win the league, and we're 16 points off it. So realistically, we've got to start thinking about top 4 at some point, and that's what Thomas Tuchel alluded to. So we need to just make sure we keep the pack from behind us catching us and try and keep on top of 3rd spot and make sure we don't drop into the 4th one.
Agree. We have to stop looking ahead now and just look behind us. We have to look at, it pains me to say it, but the Uniteds, the West Hams, the Arsenals, the Tottenhams, and kind of lose focus now on City and Liverpool, and even maybe Liverpool.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But obviously, it's been episode 53. Rich, as always, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, as always. And Theo. Yeah, and obviously I'll put the link to your channel in the description as well, Eagle Eyed Football. I know it's doing really well. So yeah, we'll put the link in there as well. And Theo, as always, pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk between now and 3 o'clock tomorrow.
I'll be wearing my windbreaker throughout the weekend if it's windy.
I think the players will need them as well.
Yeah,
the players, but hopefully it doesn't get cancelled. That's a very true statement.
That's a possibility.
I was thinking about that. I just I think I sent it to you. Video of the Brentford players training, and they kick the ball and it just comes flying back towards them. So hopefully it's not like this tomorrow.
Fingers crossed. But guys, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. We love to hear from all of you and everyone who tuned in today as well. And also Apple, Spotify, make sure you definitely check that out as well. Give us a follow on there. But this has been from episode 53 from the Shed End Podcast. Myself, TDOT, Theo, Rich. Until next time, stay safe in that wind. Doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. Thanks for listening.